Hi there, I'm Todd Richardson. Welcome to Intro to Statistics Day 2. Today I'm hoping in the videos for Day 2 that you're going to see, and there's more than one, I'm hoping that you're going to see how to organize a list of data and make a histogram. And in the other videos that will follow this one, how to make a frequency polygon, and finally how to make an ogive. In this particular video, we're focused on organizing data and making a histogram. A histogram is a special type of graph that you might think of as a bar graph, but it's a specialized bar graph with no breaks, meant to organize our data when we have several different numbers that we're looking at. As an example, I've got a list of 30 prices of an alternator that go into a Ford Focus. An alternator generates electricity in a car. I've got all kinds of prices for all kinds of different alternators on the internet and in auto body shops. Middle of the road prices, high prices, low prices. What I'm going to recommend before you do anything else is that you organize the list of data, which is tedious, but organize it so that you go in order from low to high. So what I've done with the list of data is I've organized it from low to high. We call our lowest price our minimum. We call our highest price our maximum. And I've ordered all the prices from low all the way to high, the maximum. I've chosen an arbitrary number, and that number is 7. And that number is how many classes we're going to break all this data up. Now, if we only had, say, 8 or 10 alternator prices, we probably wouldn't need to break 8 or 10 alternator prices into classes. But when we have 30 or more different prices for alternators, then it becomes effective for us a lot of times to break up the data into chunks, into groups, and we call those groups classes. Now I chose arbitrarily the number 7. Typically the rule is choose a number of classes between 5 and 20 so that you have more than 1 or 2, but you don't have, say, 100 different groups. So I've chosen the number 7. What I'm going to do with that number 7 is I'm going to take our maximum minus our minimum. When I subtract 606 minus 312, well, I get 294. I'm going to divide that 294 by 7, and my calculator tells me I get 42. Now, to make sure that all the data fit into the 7 classes we're going to create, please round that up to the next integer, which is 43. 43 is what we're going to add to each lower limit to get each upper limit for each class. So for example, our first class starts at the lowest price, 312. I will add 43 to that to get 355, and that first class will therefore go as low as 312 to an upper limit of 355. Those will be the limits of the first group of alternators that I get. Now you can see there are 2 alternators that are in that first class. The lowest priced alternators are $312 and $330. After that, we get a second alternator that's in the next class starting at 356. So from 356 to 43 more, we have the next class, and there's 1 alternator that's in that class, and we break up the alternators into these respective classes to help us organize the data. One other thing that I need you to be aware of, a technical term that I will ask you about in this class, and that term is called class width. Technically, the class width is going to be 1 more than 43. It's going to be 44. That will be technically how wide each grouping is that we create. when we organize our data. Now I want to show you what the data look like when I've organized them into 7 different groupings that we call classes. So let me downsize this first page that I've got and show you now the histogram with all the data organized. So our first class goes from 312 to 355. Those are the limits. And technically, the boundaries of that class go a $0.50 below 312 and a $0.50 above 355. Here are the class boundaries for that first class. Here are the class boundaries for the second class. The second class has limits of 356 to 399, but its boundaries are a $0.50, a half step below 356, and a half step above 399. Those class boundaries become the markings down here on our histogram. This right here is our histogram, and our histogram is demarcated along the x-axis with the class boundaries right here. And those boundaries become the edges of these rectangles that we have, our bars, in this histogram. We rely on the class boundaries as the edges of the bars to guarantee, and this is an important point, to guarantee that there are no breaks from one bar to the next. So each bar has these edges that are class boundaries, and the y-axis shows us how many alternators we have in each grouping. So for example, we have a frequency of 2. 2 of the alternators are in the first class. 1 alternator is in the second class. So that second bar is only 1 high. The first bar is 2 high, the second bar is 1 high. You're going to see, and this is hopefully no big surprise, that when we get to the third and fourth classes, we have 9 and 11 respectively, and therefore those bars are 9 high and 11 high. And the real purpose of the histogram is to show us where do most of the prices end up stacking up. And you can see that most of the prices stack up in the middle. We have the majority, 9 plus 11, we have 20 alternators that stack up right here. And that's one of the effective things shown to us by a histogram. Whereas a minority of prices are above $487.50 or below here, these prices here are the minority. The middle, in the 400s, that's where we see the majority of the prices. Hopefully this has helped you in creating a histogram. In the next videos for day 2, you're going to see how to create a frequency polygon and an ogive.